everyone. How you doing? This is Lene Jones Jules of Jules Realty, your real estate boutique located in the heart of Newark, New Jersey's beautiful Renaissance Towers. Today for the Jules Realty Real Estate Roundtable, we are really happy to have this conversation with Attorney Deborah Winston. We're going to be discussing real estate law. So I've been looking forward to this conversation. Ms. Winston, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're so welcome, Lene. It's just so nice to be working with realtors who are interested in teaching their clients and making them aware of all what goes into a closing process and the pitfalls that can occur in that process and making sure that they are avoided.
Absolutely. So let's get right into the discussion. Can you talk a little bit about what is the role of a real estate attorney?
Okay, certainly. So let me say first that the purchase of a home is one of the biggest or probably the largest investment anyone would make in their lifetime. So therefore, with an investment such as that, you never want to go into that sort of investment without legal advice. And so the role of a real estate attorney is to be with you from the beginning to the end. So in the beginning, the first thing that needs to be done is that the contract of sale itself needs to be reviewed. And what that means is that most contracts for real estate, for residential real estate, is what we call a realtor's contract. And they're pretty standard. So because they're standard, they don't have the specific nuances to individual contracts of sale. So you might have certain wishes going into that contract of sale. For instance, you might want something called a seller's concession, or it is the seller's responsibility to get the C of O. The seller might want to shift that responsibility to the buyer because of the condition of the home. So those sort of things are in a realtor's contract. So you need to have somebody who is versed in real estate law to make those changes. And also there are other changes that are needed to protect the buyer or the seller. So that's why you would have an attorney to do that. And then after that process comes along, you have to have can we stop it right here a second?
Yeah, you're fine. Okay. I'm gonna put you on. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So it is the home inspection process. Now, the home inspection is not, which people confuse, is not a legal process. The home inspection is only the wants and wishes of the buyer. So you got to remember, the attorney doesn't see the house. So the buyer and his realtor they've seen the house. They know what is wrong with the house. They know what they will desire to be repaired by the homeowner. So, but the attorney is there to assist those wishes from that buyer reaches to the other side, so that those repair requests can be negotiated. Now, the other issue is that then title has to be ordered. The buyer's attorney will order title, and once title is ordered, the buyer's attorney will review that title. So that's purely legal. And that's something a buyer cannot do for themselves, or a seller. So you really want an attorney for that process. And then it's the closing process itself, sometimes dealing with the lender and getting to the table for closing. And all that really needs to be handled by an attorney. And that's the attorney's role in any real estate transaction in a nutshell.
Okay, that's excellent. Now here's a question. You have a buyer, you have a seller. When is the appropriate time to present an offer to you that they receive? Should they sign it and give it to you? Should they wait and give it to you and then sign it after they review it with you? And then on the flip side, in regards to a buyer, if they're out here searching for a house, should they already be in contact with you as an attorney prior to them finding a house?
Okay, so Attorney review does not begin until there is a fully executed contract. So do not contact an attorney or get the contract to an attorney until the buyer has signed it and the seller has signed it. Once both parties have signed it, then you have a contract, because before both parties sign it, you don't have a contract and there's nothing to review. So, and then you have 3 days to get it to an attorney. This is what people are confused about. You have 3 days to get it to an attorney. But once those 3 days, you get it to the attorney and that attorney starts attorney review can go on until it's ended. Now, typically we try and get attorney review out in 1 or 2 days, but it can really go on if there's a huge discussion about what's in a contract. It can go on, but attorney review is not 3 days. Attorney review is however long it is, but you have 3 days to get it to an attorney to begin review. Okay. So don't do anything until the contract is fully executed, and then you reach out for your attorney.
There are some people who don't want to work with an attorney. They want to deal strictly with a title search or a title company. So what are your thoughts on that?
Okay, so here's the thing. A title company cannot give you legal advice. A title company is no more than a notary at the time of the closing transaction. And there is nobody to guide you along the way. The title company is not going to do that. The title company's only role is to order title, and who's going to resolve the issues in title. Now, if you don't have an attorney, the title company will have to try and do that, but they are not acting in your best interest. Mm-hmm. And like I said before, this is the largest purchase you'll make in a lifetime. Do you really want to leave it up to third parties who don't have your best interest at the forefront? They're about making money. Attorneys are there. We're under a fiduciary obligation to protect the buyer or the seller, whichever one we're representing. So I would say always have an attorney present.
I agree. Excellent. Yes. So you work with wills and estates and trusts. Can you talk a bit about that? I know I've heard people say, I don't want to deal, I don't have much money, I have a house. Why do I need to do a trust or a will or anything like that?
Okay, so if you're a husband and wife and you own the property as husband and wife, and that's all you have, you don't have anything else, and one of the spouses passes, by operational law, that house will pass to the other spouse. Now, if you don't have children and you're going to be the last, it'll just go to your heirs, and that'll be on those heirs to probate your estate or whatever. But for most people, they have more than just a house. And when you pass away, your loved ones have to probate your estate. That's unavoidable. Now, there are ways to avoid probate. One way is to put your children on a house with what's called right of survivorship. So you own the house, but you own it with your children by right of survivorship. And what that means is that if you pass, the house automatically goes to your children. Or if one of your children pass, it will automatically go to back to you or to the other people. So everybody would still own the property. However, what I warn people about is you got to make sure your kids have good credit, because once their names go on that deed, or whoever's name is on that deed, so their judgments follow. So if you have a child that has horrible credit, you don't want them on your house, because now all those judgments are going to attach to the house. Mm-hmm. And they'll have to be paid at closing. So there's a lot to consider in doing that. Now, there's something called a trust. If you have, like, say you have multiple properties, and this is true of a lot of folks, because we're from North Carolina, we're all from somewhere else. And we might have property, we might have our parents' property in North Carolina, our home in New Jersey. Well, wherever you have real property, then that has to be probated in that particular state. So if you have property in New Jersey, you need an attorney to probate it in New Jersey. But if you have property in North Carolina, now you've got to go hire another attorney to probate the estate in North Carolina. But if you form a trust and you deed these houses to the trust, then the trust owns the houses, and then that avoids having to do probate in multiple states. So that's just some things to think about in terms of wills and estates. But you really do need a will if you have property, real property, personal property, substantial personal property, bank accounts, anything where you haven't already named a beneficiary and you want those funds to go to certain people, because there's a difference between dying testate, which means you have a will, and dying intestate, which means you don't have a will. Then it goes to your heirs, whoever those heirs may be. And under New Jersey intestacy laws, it depends on whether you have children, you have siblings, you still have parents. So your property really could go to people you didn't intend it to go to.
Mm-hmm. So when is a good time to prepare a will or prepare a trust or anything like that? And then I also see sometimes you see the estate of. Does that mean that it is in a trust when it's like that? What is that?
No, it just means that the person has died and the estate has been probated of the deceased persons, and now property has to be sold in the estate of. And that's the other thing. When somebody, like say your grandmother owns a home, she just passed away and she left it to you in a will, or it's been left to you by virtue of being her heir. The house has to be sold in the estate of that person, and until her will is probated or the estate itself is probated at the surrogate's office, you can't sell that property. So that's really, I started out in real estate, but that's why I got into wills and estates, because in order to sell the real estate, I had to do so much probate in order to get the property, get it in the right situation to be sold.
Right.
So that's what started me on doing wills and estates and trust, because for a lot of people, they just thought they could sell the house, but then you don't have the right to sell it because it's in a deceased person's name.
If you're going to go through so much to purchase the house, you definitely want to know how to protect it and create legacy for your family and wealth for your family. That's how you can create wealth, is to be able to hold on to your family properties. For seniors, what's the best way to protect a home if you are a senior and you find that maybe you don't have a will right now, or you don't have anything in place? So how can a senior protect their home?
Okay, so the first thing they really do need to do is to do a will, or at least put like a child with good credit onto the property, so the property passes to that child at their death. The other thing is if you know that you're going to get ill and you might go to a nursing home or some other sort of residential living, you want to make sure you have passed that home on to someone else, because they could collect that home, especially if you are collecting Medicaid or something like that. So you want to be careful about that. The will is really the way to go, or a trust.
So on that note, are you accepting any new clients? And if somebody wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Okay, so my office number is 973-761-7760. My email address is my name and law@gmail.com. So it's Deborah, DEBORAH, WINSTON. And I always say Winston like the cigarettes, because if you're old enough, you remember that. So it's Deborah Winston Law@gmail.com. And what people really, part that they get wrong is they spell Deborah wrong. It's like Deborah.
I appreciate your time, and we all appreciate the information that you shared with us. And I look forward to working with you on other transactions. And it's been a pleasure to meet you face to face. So have a wonderful weekend, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. If you like this video and you want to see more like it, subscribe to Jules Realty Boutique on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram. And on Fridays around the noon hour, we have our real estate roundtable live on Facebook. Great real estate tips every Friday around the noon hour. So connect with us. We look forward to connecting with you. It's Jules Realty Boutique. See ya.